Good afternoon, everybody. Um, Happy Hope everybody had a good Thanksgiving or at least a meal. If it wasn't good, hope you at least got something to eat. If not, that's okay too. God still has a plan for your life and a purpose and wants to bless you. And every day that we're alive and awake and get to be in His creation that He created just for us, it is a blessing to have. So we can at least be thankful for that. I often struggle with that a lot of times, just dealing with the daily life things and find myself frustrated and everything a lot when things don't go my way or the way I think they should go, or something's just way more aggravating or than it should be. And I find myself falling back into old patterns and old habits sometimes. But thankfully, I know I have the tools now to at least understand where I'm headed with that, the foolishness of my ways and how stupid I am and what that's always led to. And I know that I can just resort back to God and His Word. This is kind of a topic on the value of discernment, and that's one of those situations we get to choose how we're going to act and how we're going to handle the situation. We can't always choose the situation we're in, but we can choose how we handle it. Today's study is in Proverbs 2 1 through 11, and then we're going to go on and finish up with Hebrews 5 11 through 14. It's the value of discernment and the power of a discerning spirit. The value of discernment in Proverbs 2 1 through 11 is, my son, if you receive my words and treasure my commands within you, so that you incline your ear to wisdom and apply your heart to understanding. Yes, if you cry out for discernment and lift up your voice for understanding. Sorry, I'll lean over a little bit. If you seek her as silver and search for her as for hidden treasures, then you will understand the fear of the Lord and find the knowledge of God. For the Lord gives wisdom. From His mouth come knowledge and understanding, and stores up wisdom for the upright. He is a shield to those who walk uprightly. He guards the paths of justice and preserves the way of His saints. Then you will understand righteousness and justice, equity, and every good path. I really like that equity part, the value of something. When wisdom enters your heart and knowledge is pleasant to your soul, discretion will preserve you, and understanding will keep you. Oh, sorry, I let the sun blind you guys again. If I seem a little distracted, it's with my ADD and everything. It's a little hard for me when the dogs are crunching around on the leaves and everything to stay on focus. Every little noise, kind of attracts my attention. But I'm going to do my best just to drown that out. I have to pay attention, make sure they're not knocking it over. But okay, if you made a list of the things you want most in your life, would a discerning spirit be one of them? Let's take a moment to define and discuss this wonderful godly attribute that's available to believers. Discernment is the ability to make sound judgments or to comprehend something obscure. It's the ability to make a sound judgment or to comprehend something obscure, something that's just kind of hard to understand, You don't see all the details of it. You don't know much about it, so you can't really make a decision one way or the other. One area where this is essential involves distinguishing something that is good from something that is best. So a lot of times we'll have a couple of decisions. One of them may seem like a pretty good decision, and the other one is a good decision, and we don't know which one's the better decision. Kind of the opposite of stuck between a rock and a hard place. God has a perfect plan for each of us. However, there are a multitude of good options before us. For instance, suppose you're offered two different jobs. They both look promising, but only one of them is God's best for you. Do you know how to determine His will in a situation like that? I know it'd be kind of hard for me, and a lot of times I think maybe that's why I prefer the wilderness, in a lot of ways, because you have less decisions to make, you know, less responsibility in a way, and you're just kind of surviving and going day to day, moment by moment. So, planning things out too for where you have to worry about going this way or the other is kind of hard for me. Our most basic need for discernment involves being able to understand what God is saying to us. And we can find that in Proverbs 3:5-6, a reference. Our basic need for discernment involves being able to understand what God is saying to us. When you're faced with a decision, how do you know if you're hearing from the Lord or simply listening to your own desires or reasoning? Proverbs 3:5-6. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. And I should have known that from memory and everything. Like I said, I'm really distracted and everything a little bit. Not too bad. I'm trying to focus in, but I just got a phone call from my wife, so I was debating whether or not I should pause this and restart it or answer the phone. But so for now, I'm just going to go on with this and not worry about that. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. When you're faced with the decision, how do you know if you're hearing from the Lord or simply listening to your own desires? That verse, it tells us to trust. Don't trust in our own understanding, but acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your path. So maybe at that moment, we don't know the choice we're supposed to make because He's not speaking to us yet, or maybe He's leading us to a point to where we're ready to have the answer. Maybe He wants us to seek Him for a little while longer, make sure that we're putting Him first, and we're willing to just put off a decision for now. There's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know right now. I'll get back to you. The time to develop discernment is now. Don't wait until the critical decision faces you. Begin today to fill your mind with God's Word so you can think His thoughts and understand His ways. Take time, fill your mind with God's Word so you can think His thoughts and understand His ways. And I know a lot of times, if I find myself getting frustrated, I'm reminded of the scriptures, be not angry, and the wrath of a man turn away. I can't remember the exact verse, but and how God tells you, to kind of steer clear of somebody that's prone to anger and everything. Don't really spend much time associating them. And so I know I have to, if I want to be a light for people and a blessing to them, I can't allow them to see me pitching a fit, and let that be the example I give to them of the Lord. Spend time with Him in intimate fellowship. The more you know Him, the better you can discern His voice. Okay, and I'm going to go ahead and pause that, and I'll do the next thing in another video. My wife's calling again, so thank you and God bless.